Hi, everybody, and welcome to 19 to 0's webinar series on COVID-19 vaccines. This webinar today will be about vaccine surveillance and monitoring. The primary objective of this slideshow is to provide you with accurate information about the measures that are in place to ensure vaccine safety, so you can confidently roll up your sleeve when the time comes and advocate about this vaccine to your patients and colleagues. This slideshow is developed by a multidisciplinary team of nurses, physicians, pharmacists, and public health experts, and is up to date as of February 24th of this year. At the time of this recording, more than 21,000 Canadians and nearly 500,000 Americans have died of COVID-19 in the past year. In both Canada and the United States, COVID rose from being unheard of to joining heart disease and cancer as the top causes of death in our countries. Tragically, people working in healthcare settings and visible minorities are getting more sick more often than the rest of the population. Many people struggle to return to normal life after their COVID infection. So there's a good reason to be vaccinated for your own health. You simply cannot know how you will personally be affected. Our aim from this presentation is for healthcare workers to get educated about the vaccines, to get vaccinated, and then to become skilled in communicating about the vaccines with your patients and colleagues. The first thing to talk about here is how important it is to understand the regulatory framework of vaccine development and approval in Canada. So when a vaccine is first developed, scientists will look at different potential molecules or approaches that they can have to have a vaccine that will be effective in preventing the infection. Once that first potential vaccine is developed, it's tested on animals in preclinical trials to determine that it's safe to be tried in humans. After those preclinical trials are a success, then phase 1 clinical trials begin. In these phase 1 trials, they try the vaccine on dozens of healthy volunteers to determine, is the vaccine safe, what is the safe dose that can be used, and what side effects do we see. Phase 2 then enrolls hundreds of healthy adult volunteers to begin to establish how effective the vaccine is and whether the safety still holds up in a larger group, and again to identify further appropriate dosing. Phase 3 are the large-scale trials where thousands of people are enrolled, and this is the time when numbers are large enough to really identify how effective the vaccine is and to further identify rare side effects that we may see in only smaller numbers of people. When Phase 3 demonstrates that the vaccine is effective and a viable candidate, it is submitted to Health Canada for approval. Health Canada then independently reviews the data to ensure that rigorous protocols were followed in the trial and that their findings are correct, and that any risks or disadvantages of the vaccine are outweighed by the benefits of protecting against the disease itself. When approved, the research does not end. Vaccines continue to be monitored after they are made publicly available to ensure that they are effective in the broader population and in real world, as it was in the trials, and to identify if there are rare side effects that occur when you only get to numbers of hundreds of thousands or millions of people being vaccinated. When speaking of vaccine development, we need to change the conversation to highlight the efficient and streamlined development that happened with the COVID-19 vaccines. It is important to know that, number one, safety was not at all skipped. In fact, the trials for the vaccines that we currently have were much larger than most previous vaccine trials. And there are several things that contribute to the speed of these vaccine development. One is thanks to genomic sequencing, the SARS-CoV-2 genome, or the virus that causes COVID, was mapped within just weeks of the first known cases being identified of a mysterious respiratory virus in Wuhan, China. Having the genome mapped allowed researchers to get to work immediately on a potential vaccine candidate. The urgency and global nature of the COVID-19 pandemic meant that the world's leading scientists could band together to focus on a single task with huge resources pooled to develop the vaccine. Additionally, it was extremely easy to recruit volunteers for the trials, as we can imagine given how significant COVID has been in our lives, and the high incidence of COVID infections in countries around the world made it very easy for the study participants to meet the endpoints, something that would normally take much longer for a disease that is less prevalent. Some Canadians continue to have concerns about the profit motives around vaccine development and whether companies might skip steps or misrepresent data to rush through their vaccine candidates. It is important to understand that regulations that prevent that from happening exist in countries across the world, including Canada. The pharmaceutical companies manufacture the vaccine and sponsor and conduct the trials. But all vaccine clinical trials must have an independent data and safety monitoring board review the vaccine efficacy and unblind the data. As the trial is completed, Health Canada reviews all safety and efficacy data before allowing the vaccine to be used in the Canadian population. After it has been approved for use and made available, its safety is continuously monitored by healthcare providers and national networks specifically designed for safety. Health Canada monitors both national and international vaccine safety reports and will update information about the vaccine as soon as it becomes available. As we said, the research on vaccines does not end at approval by Health Canada. One thing that we follow very closely are what are called adverse events following immunization, or AFIs. An AFI is any incident that occurs after immunization in a specified time period. Sometimes the incidents are caused by or related to the vaccine, and sometimes they are just coincidence and happen to be around the time of the vaccine's administration. AFIs are reported to and reviewed by local public health agencies, as well as the Public Health Agency of Canada. The Canadian Vaccine Safety Network assesses vaccine safety following implementation of vaccine campaigns. And so just because an incident is reported following a vaccine does not mean it's related to the vaccine. So the event reported on the following slides are not necessarily vaccine reactions. This information is publicly available on the FACT website. So this slide shows, as of February 12, 2021, all reports of adverse events following immunizations in Canada. No safety issues have been identified. Out of over 1.2 million doses, there are only 957 reports of adverse events, and only 140, or 0.011% of doses, ended up having an AFI that was reported as a serious event. So thanks very much for tuning into this vaccine webinar. We hope that it helps you understanding and helps you to feel more confident about getting your vaccine so we can move together towards a brighter future. Thank you.